Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next iteration of our series for the astrology of Shreem Brzee. We began a few weeks ago with giving you some insight into the power times that make Shreem Brzee more potent. So when you're doing your practice, you're chanting, you're meditating, you have an opportunity to go deeper into the after effects of the mantra by doing it during a certain period of time. And if you've watched those webinars or if you've heard Dr. Pillai speak in the past, you know that there are certain times, Fridays, for example, Venus Horas, for example, that are powerful. But we've never really told you why that time is the most powerful. So today I have with me Swamini Valli Wells, and she will be telling us more about Venus, the power behind those power times that Dr. Pillai has asked us to use to enhance our Shreem Brzee practice. So I will put Valli. Welcome, Swamini Valli Wells. Valli has been studying with Dr. Pillai for about 17 years now. She recently received the name, I'm not sure what you call it, the status of Swamini a couple years ago from Dr. Pillai. And she's also been an astrologer studying astrology for 15 years, a wonderful contributor to our communities for at least 15, 16 years now, and a good friend of mine. I've known her from studying with prior teachers as well. So I'm really excited to have Swamini Valli here today to give us more insight into Venus and how we can use that to enhance our Shreem Brzee practice. So I'll turn it over to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jayarada. I'm going to, let's see, do I need to do anything to be on the screen?
No, I have you on the screen.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
you can actually double click your picture so that you see yourself large.
Oh, okay. Thank you. This is the first time doing this particular thing on a Zoom session. So namaste. Welcome to everyone. I'm so very happy to be joining this series. Today we're going to be talking about Venus, explaining a little bit more about Venus from a Vedic point of view. And I'm going to be sharing a PowerPoint presentation. So if you just give me a moment, I'm going to screen share over to that, if that's okay. So just give me a moment to do that. And then, Jayarada, can you see this okay?
Yes, I can see that. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, okay, excellent. So I am both a Pillai Center teacher and an AstroVed astrologer. And this was just a slide so I'd have something to get the presentation started. Okay, so our topic today is both Shreem Brzee and Venus. Today's agenda is introducing Venus as a Vedic planet. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the qualities of Venus, some of the areas that Venus rules, a little Vedic mythology about Venus. An important thing to understand is that Venus is ruled by Lakshmi, and she is an archetype, a divine feminine archetype, who is very connected to the Shreem Brzee consciousness. So the fact that Venus is ruled by Lakshmi gives Venus a very natural connection to the Shreem Brzee energy. And a little piece of upcoming astrology information is that Venus is going to transit into Libra in November, next month, for a few weeks. And this is exciting for us as Shreem Brzee people because Venus rules Libra and Venus will be very comfortable there. So it will make it an excellent time for working with our Shreem Brzee sounds. So Venus as a Vedic planet, all of the Vedic planets are more than just a physical planet in the sky. There's also a celestial being associated with that planet. And Venus, in this way of viewing him, has a masculine form, and he's considered both a teacher and a counselor. So he is usually often depicted as having 4 arms. One arm is extended in blessing. One arm is holding a mala or a rosary of prayer beads. One is holding a water pot, which is something that some of the ascetics would use as part of their practice. And he's also holding a staff, which indicates that he's a teacher. He belongs to the Bhargava clan, which is a clan of warriors and sages. So he comes from a very high lineage. And like the moon, he is considered to have feminine energy. So he is a feminine energy planet, and yet the being is also considered to have a masculine form. So he will be depicted as a masculine form when you see pictures or statues of him in India. This is a statue of him outside of a temple in India, up near the roof. One of his Sanskrit names of Venus is Shukra, or it's sometimes spelled Sukra, meaning bright. And Venus as a planet often appears very bright in the sky, sometimes low in the horizon. And in some cultures, Venus is therefore called the morning star or the evening star, because you start to see Venus like right before dawn or right around the time of dusk. Like he's a very, very bright celestial body in the sky. So his name of Shukra is reflecting that bright quality that he has as a physical planet. Venus is the planet who helps us to evaluate what things are worth to us in terms of our time, our money, and our energy. So if we're being goofy with our time, or if we're having challenges with our money, or if we're being a little sloppy with how we use our energy, Venus is a planet that we want to have more of a heart connection with, so that we start to make wiser choices and we start to get quicker to evaluate the results of our time, our money, and energy, and start to make better choices with them. So some of the qualities of Venus, Venus has a very feminine energy, so his energy is very receptive. He's considered a healer, and among the planets, he's actually considered to be the nurse. And the nurse is the planet that cares about our physical comfort when we're sick. Like the nurse is the one that will come in and plump up the pillows and, make sure you have enough blankets and that type of thing. So Venus is a healer, but he also cares about our comfort. He's very much a planet who's interested in peace and harmony. He's an energy of unity and cooperation. And he also is the energy of diplomacy. And among the planets, he is considered the diplomat. And he's considered to be a wise counselor, especially related to things of the mundane world. So he has great focus on the material world. And as Shreem Brzee chanters, this is good for us, because this is sounds that we're wanting to help to enhance our material plane life, the Shreem Brzee. Areas that Venus rules Fridays. So that's why that's the day of the week that Dr. Pillai encourages us to do extra Shreem Brzee chanting, because Venus rules that whole day. Venus rules our conscious desires. He helps us to know what is our own authentic desire. He rules the areas of beauty and delight. He rules all the material plane comforts. So if we want to have a nice car, a nice home, nice possessions of any kind, Venus is a planet that helps with that. So he's very much associated with the energy of material plane comforts and luxury and beauty. He also is a planet associated with love and romance. And he is also a planet of passion and relationships and sexuality. The very highest aspect of love is love of God. And Venus very much can help with that spiritual love of God, which in some cultures is called bhakti or agape, or there may be other words that you know from your particular tradition. But Venus helps with all of these things. Venus is the planet that helps us to enjoy pleasure, to help us to be happy, to help us have just enjoyment with life, the joie de vivre. He is the planet that rules all of the arts, so everyone doing artistic endeavors or the field of entertainment or helping to create enlightened entertainment on this planet, all of that would be under the realm of Venus. He has everything to do with the energies of creativity. He rules all flower-bearing plants And he also rules all seeds. So he's very important to us right now in our modern world, given that we're dealing with, GMO and that type of thing with plants. So people that are working on projects to help protect the purity of seeds or working with gardens, Venus is a very important planet for you. He also rules our ability to be receptive to practical advice, to be open to taking common sense suggestions. And he also rules our ability to negotiate win-win agreements with others. So these are all areas that Venus has impact in our daily life. There's some mythology about Venus from a Vedic perspective. The father of Venus is considered to be an enlightened sage, Maharishi Bhrgu, which is also spelled Brgu. It's not really an exact science transliterating Sanskrit sounds into English letters. Bhrgu has a reputation as a fire ceremony priest, and he also has a great reputation for wisdom as a teacher of astrology. And so since Bhrgu is his father, Bhrgu taught his son Venus many, many things, including the sounds to bring the dead back to life. So Venus is considered to be very excellent with sounds and very excellent with empowered mantras. Bhrgu is an author of an ancient predictive astrology text called the Bhrgu Samhita. And Venus himself is said to be very famous as a predictive astrologer, both with being able to predict things from the planetary point of view and with just being able to predict things from a practical point of view. Like if you do this, the result will be XYZ. He has great, great skills as a predictive person. Bhrgu is said to have written out at one point 45 million horoscopes. And I think these were of the kind that we now call nadis or palm leaves. And unfortunately, many of these have been destroyed or scattered, but there are still some that survive. And there are some people who are able to receive information from a Bhrgu Nadi, even in this modern time. So Venus himself is ruled by Lakshmi. And Lakshmi is a divine feminine archetype, and she rules the areas of beauty, purity, grace, abundance. And she is known as a goddess of wealth. Now, Dr. Pillai has said that Lakshmi will not come where it is dirty, and she will not come where people are angry. So the purity that she requires is both on the physical level and on our emotional level, our inner level as well. So before we start Shreem Brzee practice, it's good to be, at least wash your face and hands if you haven't taken a shower. Make sure the area that you're chanting in is clean. And also go into your heart and look at if you're willing to forgive anybody that you might be upset with, if you're willing to lay that down, because this then helps to create more of a place of purity, both physically and inwardly, so that her energies can come in and help empower the Shreem Brzee sounds that we're working with. Lakshmi herself embodies wealth consciousness of Shreem Brzee. So this is why Dr. Pillai asks us to do Shreem Brzee on Friday, the day ruled by Venus, or during Venus Horas, which are the hours ruled by Venus on different days, or when the moon is traveling through a star ruled by Venus. And I believe Raja talked about this on an earlier webcast, the stars of Bharani, Purva Phalguni, or Purva Ashada. And the picture on this slide is one of my favorites. It's Dr. Pillai showing light to Lakshmi in a temple in Tamil Nadu. I think it's a really nice moment, very inspiring. So of the zodiac signs, Venus rules Taurus and Libra. And whenever Venus is in a zodiac sign that he rules, he's very comfortable. And when he is in Taurus or Libra, it's a really good time for connecting with Lakshmi and Shreem Brzee. And for us, it's nice to know that he is coming into Libra next month. And AstroVed is going to have a live webcast of a ceremony to celebrate Venus transit into Libra. And this is the website address, www.astroved.com. And these are 3 different time zones and dates for when this will be happening. And you can see that on your screen. So Venus will be in Libra either from November 2nd if you're in North America, or from November 3rd if you're in the UK or Europe or India. And he'll stay there until November 26th. So during those weeks that Venus is in Libra will be an especially beneficial time for us to be working with the Shreem Brzee chants, because Venus is ruled by Lakshmi, and Lakshmi is very connected to the Shreem Brzee sound. So the summary of what I wanted to communicate to you today is that we do Shreem Brzee during times associated with Venus, the planet ruled by Lakshmi, for extra benefit. And this is what we were wanting to help you to understand today a little more, why we do chanting during the times that are associated with Venus. So the other thing is that any time is a good time to chant Shreem Brzee. You should never worry if it's being a good time or not. Dr. Pillai has said chant Shreem Brzee all the time. It's just when we do it during the Venus times, there's an extra benefit. But we can always chant Shreem Brzee, and we can always be asking Lakshmi for a wealth. So those are some things that I wanted to share with you all today. I hope this was helpful.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So now we'll go over to the chat and see if there are any questions for you. Folks, just go ahead and type your questions. Go ahead and type your questions into the chat for Swamini Valli. Okay, what do we have? What is the time period of Venus dominance? What is, I think, do you understand that question?
No.
What is the dates? So can you please reword your question? Okay, so guest 5116, if you can just reword your question, then I think what they're asking is, what are the dates that Venus is in Libra? So we said it started in November 2nd or 3rd. How long does it stay there?
So it's going to be there from November 2nd or 3rd until November 26th.
Okay.
That's a good portion of November.
Okay, great.
Extra beneficial time for us.
Perfect. Okay, hope that answers your question. If not, please type in what you'd like to hear. Okay, another question, how do we get rid of anger and resentment inside of us so Lakshmi is more accessible? Swamini Valli, I think we'd all like to know the answer to that question.
So one thing that is a true thing is that anger and gratitude cannot exist at the same moment. So we all have moments where we lose it, we get angry. But if we can catch that and go back into our heart and start to reflect on things that we're grateful for. And it can be simple things. I'm grateful I have air to breathe. I'm grateful I have clean water to drink. I'm grateful I have fingers that can type on the internet. Like, even if you have to start with really simple stuff, you know, because I know sometimes there are days where things get frustrating, but just the sheer act of going into gratitude puts us back into our heart, and anger can't stay in the same place as when we're being grateful. And another exercise that we can do is we can maybe take a piece of paper sometime and write 108 things you're truly grateful for. And then if you have a time where you realize you've gotten angry, go back to your little notebook of gratitude and open it up and start just reading it. Like, maybe you can't even remember what you're grateful for. Just start reading your list of what you're grateful for. And this is going to help you go back into your heart, and it's going to help push out the anger. So that's a practical suggestion that I can suggest for helping move anger out of your heart and allow the love and gratitude in.
Perfect. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Another question we have is the Venus transit in November in Libra good for all ascendants and moon sign people?
It will have a different effect for different people. I'm not going to go into individual astrology, but overall, Venus himself as a planet is comfortable to be in Libra. It's like he's visiting a location that he's in charge of. So he feels really good. Like if we go visit a house or a piece of property that we're associated with, we feel happy to be there. The different zodiac signs, the different planets are comfortable in different zodiac signs, just like people are comfortable in different environments. Like some people might be really comfortable to visit a library and other people might be really bored. And another person might be really comfortable to go out and have a beer down at the pub. And another person might feel really shy and not happy to be there. So all the planets have environments that they like to visit. So yes, there will be some individual differences for people with the planet Venus, but this is probably not the webcast where we can get into all of that. But what is good to know is that Venus himself is comfortable. And because he's comfortable, it makes our Shreem Brzee chanting empowered because he's in a good mood.
Right. And to further that, if you want to find out more, our friends in the chat can get a reading to find out how this impacts your personal charts. You can also take a look at the URL we put in there, and that is for remedies. So if you feel like maybe you're not sure, or maybe you want to enhance this transit of Venus, then you can participate in some of the remedies that are being performed in India. And the link is in the chat.
Very good, very good.
Okay, let's see what else. Can you listen to the mantra, but chanting is more effective? Oh, that was an answer. I'm wondering if it means. Okay, so folks, we're not going to get into your details of your chart, so don't even write it. Then it'll just waste some time. So let's keep it to questions that pertain to everyone, please. Okay, so Rose is asking, Swamini Valli, you mentioned something about the Nadi leaves. I think you said that they were either destroyed or scattered. Is this a reference to the Nadi leaves readings done by AstroVed?
No, these are particular leaves that were created by this particular sage, Bhrigu. There's more than one sage and more than one saint that have written Nadi leaves. And so other bundles of leaves have been kept safe and have been passed down for generations within families that have protected these leaves. And some of these leaves are now being made available in modern times for people who are feeling drawn to a Nadi to have a session. Nadi is a different kind of astrology in that it was something that was written many, I don't know, ages ago by a sage or a saint in a very high enlightened state of attention, where they wrote down information about a person, very specific information. And in modern times, if someone is drawn to have a Nadi session, they ask that you provide your thumbprint. And from your thumbprint, they're able to locate a bundle of leaves. And from that bundle of leaves, the Nadi reader will start to read a leaf and ask you questions like, is your father's name such and such? And you say yes or no. If it's yes, he keeps reading on that leaf. If you say no to any of his questions, that's not your leaf, and he goes on to the next leaf. Not everyone has a leaf, but very often when people are drawn to have a Nadi session, they do have a leaf. And the Nadi will say something about a past life that we have had in which we did something out of foolishness or ignorance that was maybe not a good thing. And that thing is casting a shadow into this very current lifetime. And often when you hear it described, you go, oh, this is why certain things are being a problem for me. Now I get it. And then the Nadi also gives a remedy for what you can do to alleviate the karma from the thing that you did before that was not a good thing. So then that creates a new future. And the Nadi also sometimes will give predictions of things that can happen in your future. And doing the remedies will avert the negative things and they will enhance the positive things. Now, sometimes not everything can be averted. I've heard Dr. Pillai say, I can make it so you lose your hat instead of your head. Like you might still have a nudge of something that might happen in your life, but it could be ever so much less than what it would have been if you haven't performed remedies for it.
Yes.
helpful.
Thank you so much. And that last part is also pertains to a lot of people also ask, I'm chanting Shreem Brzee, not a whole lot is happening, or I'm chanting and maybe my wealth went down for a bit. And that's exactly what we want to get across to them, Swamini Valli, is that you are starting a practice, new karmas are being created, old ones are going to probably pass through you a little more quickly, and something may happen, but it may not be as impactful as what would have happened in the past. Maybe your wealth went down 10%, but maybe it would have went down 30% if you weren't chanting Shreem Brzee. So faith is a really good, a big part of this as well.
That's true, and it's also true that none of the spiritual practice you do is wasted.
Right.
When I first started with Babaji, I actually entered a very difficult astrological period. And he looked at my chart and he said, I'll keep a roof over your head. I went, oh my God, that doesn't sound like a very good year. and it was a very, very challenging year for me. And some of my friends were like, oh, this new teacher you're studying with, this isn't being good. But I knew it had nothing to do with the teachings, which is I was in a really tough patch. And yet I did get through it. And then all of the spiritual practices that I had done, they were waiting like planes over JFK, like in a circling pattern, waiting to come in. And then they started to land, bam, bam, bam. So none of the spiritual practice you ever do is wasted, even if you don't see the results as fast as some of your friends. To just admire the positive results that other people are getting, because when we admire something, we draw it to us. When we get jealous or bitter, then we push that thing away from us. So we want to always be happy for other people when we see that the Shreem Brzee is working for them, because that hastens our own success with Shreem Brzee. So that's an important safety tip I can also pass on.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so someone is asking, looks like you're saying you wrote 108 times a day or more, which is fantastic. They're asking if it really matters whether the writing is done during Venus Hora or not. And you already answered that. No, do it no matter what. And then if you can, do it during Venus Hora, right?
Exactly. Someone asked me, when's the very best time to do a mantra? And I said, the very best time to do a mantra is when you're actually going to do it. That's going to get you results. So the things that Dr. Pillai is suggesting about Venus Hora or Fridays or that type of thing, these are like fine tunings. These are things to help us get extra benefit, to make it go a little bit quicker for us. But if those things don't fit into your schedule, I know many people are very busy or they're working, etc., then go ahead and do it when you can. Any time is a good time. It's never a bad time to do Shreem Brzee.
Right, exactly. Thank you. Okay, this is a great question. Is Goddess Shreem Brzee and Lakshmi one and the same person, or can you please clarify who to pray to?
I would say that Goddess Shreem Brzee is Lakshmi and Lakshmi is Goddess Shreem Brzee. I would say she totally embodies the Shreem Brzee consciousness. And many of the divine beings have more than one name. And so I would say Shreem Brzee is another name now in modern times for Lakshmi, if you want to think of her that way.
Yeah. And Dr. Pillai had a video not long ago where he said Brzee, Shreem Brzee is Lakshmi's name. So there's no distinction.
Perfect.
Before it was more like, oh, it's the mantra and it's the goddess, but he completely aligned that recently, and so it's one and the same. All right. Okay. Question from Michael. One of the graphics of Shri Venus depicted him with two horses. Is there a connection between Venus and horse racing, and would a Venus Hora be auspicious for investing in horse racing? Well, I don't know about giving advice about horse racing, but is there a connection between horses and Venus?
Oh. He is sometimes shown in some of the that I have. There are other pictures where he's standing near a horse. I really am not in a position to recommend or give advice to anybody about something like racing or gambling or anything like that. I've heard Dr. Pillai say we're not really supposed to be advising people in that kind of a way for working with these sounds. So anything that someone wants to do on that, that's on their own recognizance and not because anybody from Pillai Center has suggested it to them. I'm just being honest with you.
Yes, thank you. Good answer. Verna is asking, what do we do if we still have not made a comfortable connection with the goddess?
So then I would say that back it up and look at what do you feel comfortable with? Do you feel comfortable focusing on beauty in another form? Would you like to focus on a flower? Would you like to focus on a beautiful painting or a beautiful song? Like Lakshmi is beauty. So what is beauty to you? And are you comfortable with beauty? Like are you becoming aware that maybe you haven't focused on beauty, or you haven't given yourself permission to enjoy beauty? Maybe you just have to back it up a little bit to see what are you comfortable with in the area of beauty? What are you comfortable with in the area of abundance? And be honest about that, and start from there. So that when I was much younger, when I was like still in college, I went on a retreat with the Quakers, and I had a very powerful vision about the thing on the back of the dollar bill with the pyramid and the eye. And it was like an amazing vision. And in the vision, I was so startled because like, oh my God is in the money. And I heard a voice saying, well, I am the abundant life. And I was like, oh my God. And we were supposed to share out of these very deep meditation sessions. I was like, oh, why did it have to be about money? Couldn't have been, I mean, even sex, comfortable talking to these about. And it was, for me, it was the first time that I was really starting to connect with God and money, and that God didn't have a problem with money, that God is literally in the money. In America, that says, in God we trust, and there's an eye of God on the back of the dollar bill. So for me, I had a lot to work through in earlier times of feeling that spirituality and money and spirituality and beauty, that there was no conflict with these things. So as we're working with these sounds, any areas where we are not completely receptive yet may be coming up for us to look at and to work with. And I would say be very gentle with yourself. You don't want to be in a state of civil war inside yourself, because you don't win a civil war. So you may need to make friends with all the different parts of yourself. Like sometimes it's like we're a big corporation, and you need to take all of the parts of the corporation out to lunch and let each of your different cells have a chat with you about what's going on with them, and kind of negotiate peace among them so that they can all kind of get on the same page with what you're trying to do, is a suggestion I can make.
Perfect. Thank you. That's great. Another question along the same lines is, I've been trying to get into the habit of chanting Shreem Brzee, but for some reason I'm not regular. How can I have more faith in Shreem Brzee? Tough questions today.
They're good questions. They're questions everybody deals with. Well, I can tell you today I drove into town. I'm in a little remote area right now in Scotland. And I drove into town today with a friend, and we had maybe a 40-minute drive. And we just did Shreem Brzee the whole way in our drive. So we chanted. So I had done Shreem Brzee before when I've done that drive. Like sometimes I take the bus when I go into town. So to me, now it's starting to become in my mind, when I take this drive, I'm doing Shreem Brzee. It's a beautiful drive. I mean, it's a lovely, lovely drive here in Scotland. But it's also now becoming associated to me with Shreem Brzee. So I would say if you can find little places where you're going to stick Shreem Brzee into your regular day, or a regular place where you do it, then those things will start to remind you to do it again. We're creating a positive habit, and it takes a little bit of time. I've had times where I will, if I'm watching television, I might turn off the sound during a commercial and just do Shreem Brzee all during the commercials. And then when the program I'm watching starts up again. So it's like 4 or 5 minutes of Shreem Brzee, but that starts to add up, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there. Pretty soon you have a half hour. So find ways to bring it into your day that work for you, that feel fun for you, that are things that you can accept, and then allow yourself to experiment with this. Like have a slightly skeptical, even what the heck attitude. What the heck? I'm going to try this for 45 days and see what happens, but I'm really going to try it. And if I miss a day, I'm going to start my 45 days back at day one, like make some kind of commitment inside yourself to really test this for yourself. Don't believe this just because Jay Radha or I are saying this. This is something that you're doing as your own spiritual experience. You're validating these yogic discoveries for yourself. You're being a living yogi or yogini by doing this on your own. Like, you don't have to take it totally on faith. You're testing it out yourself. So give it an honest experiment, for 45 days. Be really consistent with it. And if you miss a day, start over at day one. That would be a suggestion. I hope that's it.
Great. Thank you so much. Another really good question. What are the practical activities we can do during this Venus transit to harness the energy more and for more blessings?
So Venus rules flower-bearing plants. So I would say this is a really good time to have flowers around you at your home or at your work, if that's appropriate. I would also say it's a really good time maybe to give flowers to others. And this could be maybe long distance to your mom, like you have the florist deliver something, or you focus on flowers because Venus is very connected with flowers, and flowers are pure and they're beautiful. And this would be a very simple way to connect with the Venus energy. For me, would be to focus on flowers a little bit more during this particular time, if they're available in your area. I realize some parts of the world, maybe it's not so easy to do that, but find something of beauty and work a bit more with beauty. Every time you're interacting with beauty, you're interacting with Venus and you're interacting with Lakshmi.
Okay. What about things like if people are looking to purchase a car, or practical things in their lives that they're already maybe wanting to do something? Is this a good time to do something associated with him? Like, because you mentioned the material comforts. Should I, redo my home? Should I look to buy a new car? That type of thing.
If you're looking to buy a new car, then I would say get very clear about what you want in a car. Like what kind of car, what color of car, go down to the showroom, test drive the car, maybe get a picture of that car to put on your altar, for visualizing it, to get more conscious perhaps about what your desires are for a material plane manifestation, to get more conscious about your goals. Dr. Pillai has said several times that Lakshmi is a very goal-oriented energy. And so when we approach her, we can't just say, oh, well, I want more money. That's like walking into the restaurant and telling the waitress, gosh, I'm hungry. I'd like dinner. And she's going to say, great, what do you want? So we have to become clear about what we're asking for. I mean, that's a very mundane example, obviously, with the waitress, but Lakshmi is willing to help us, but we also have to be clear with her about what it is that we really, really want, and to get specific with that. So during this month, it could be good to challenge yourself to get more specific about what are your goals and what does that goal look like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? What is your joy with that goal? Those would be ways to connect more with the Venus energy while Venus is sitting in Libra.
Perfect. That's so great, because we do get a lot of questions of how specific should I get and what I want to manifest. So that's a really practical thing for the days that Venus is heightened, for us to really hone in on what do we want. Because and Baba has said that he's like, you chant Shreem Brzee a million times, but if you're not really sure what you want, the goddess isn't really sure what to give you. So we need to know what we want. We have the faith, and then we're chanting. And so it's like a 3-part section, or 3 parts to helping her help us.
Right.
So I have another question. I heard that Venus is less powerful on Sundays. Is that true?
I wouldn't say that Venus is less powerful on Sundays, because Venus does rule 3 Horas on Sundays. But it is true that Venus is not the planet that rules Sundays. On Sundays, the sun is ruling that day. So the sun's energy will be, center stage. But it doesn't mean that Venus is off the stage altogether, because Venus does rule some of the Horas during the day. So I hope that's helpful, that Sunday is ruled by the sun, and Sunday with Dr. Pillai is also associated with Ketu, another one of the Vedic planets.
Mm-hmm.
Not wanting to talk too much about the other planets, so focus
Right.
on Venus.
All right. Let's see what else we have. Paul is asking, is it just as effective to add words Shreem Brzee in place of certain songs on the radio as you listen?
Yeah, I do that all the time. Shreem, Shreem Brzee. Yeah, you can make up your own little song or dance to it or hum along. Yeah, you can definitely insert Shreem Brzee to any song you have running through your head. You can do your own Shreem Brzee karaoke.
Yeah, I love it. Like this is a modern world. We need to fit it in wherever we can. Like
you can dance to it. You can play your drums to it. You can make up a song with it. Yeah, definitely have some fun. Venus is a planet of happiness and enjoyment and pleasure. So have some fun with your practice from time to time as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great. Here's a question. Interesting question. Hindu Veda lifestyle has many gods and goddesses that one can offer worship to, but is it advisable or acceptable to have many gurus? Right now, I am currently listening to the satsangs of other Hindu gurus, Dr. Pillai, and is one of the three main gurus, and he's one of the main three gurus that this person follows. What is a Vedic Hindu perspective on following more than one guru?
I would say that you follow the teachings that are resonating with you. And if you're in a period of life where several teachers are helping you, then you work with several teachers. Sometimes a person likes to work more closely with a teacher, and then they're making a conscious choice to be focused on that teacher, and maybe their teacher is working with them more closely. And so for vibrational reasons, they want to be in a more focused relationship just with that teacher. But Dr. Pillai has said, anyone who works with my teachings, I consider them my student. And he has never, ever prohibited his students from listening to another teacher or doing another kind of practice. And I know students who are Catholics, who are Jews, who are Muslims, who are different faiths even than just Vedic tradition. And he is willing to have people, if you're working with practices, they should be connecting you with whatever is your own root spiritual path and helping you to become more authentic with who you are. You should feel like you're becoming more and more yourself, your real self, as you're working with these teachings. So if it's working for you to be listening to teachings of three teachers right now, more power to you. I have to say that you will either find a time where you want to kind of hone in on one, or you'll continue to be receiving benefit. And I would not advise you one way or the other about that. I'd say follow your heart. It will not steer you wrong.
Great, thank you. Here's a good question that comes up a lot. When Venus Hora and Rahu Kala overlap, now what?
Well, I would say it's never a bad time to do Shreem Brzee. Venus is the planet of our conscious desires, and Rahu is the planet of our unconscious desires. So it could be a little intense doing Shreem Brzee during the Rahu Kala, but it would not be wrong to do it during that time if you like, if you want to receive the Venus energy and it happens to be the Rahu Kala. Dr. Pillai has said not to use astrology as superstition. Rahu can be a tricky energy for some people, but he is also, in the modern age, he's considered the planet of investigative research. He's the planet of new technologies. He is a planet of scientific discoveries. He's the planet that's open to thinking outside the box. So you could embrace the positive side of Rahu during Rahu Kala, perhaps focus on him in that way, rather than being afraid to do Shreem Brzee during Rahu Kala would be my suggestion.
Thank you. A lot of people ask that. Okay, here's an interesting one. I found that Dr. Pillai's voice chanting in my right ear, louder or more behind middle of the head, It's put me into a deep trance and I get very heavy feeling around the eyes and tingling in the middle of the forehead. Is this normal? And while I am writing this validation, am I on the right track working with Lakshmi?
So I would say that Dr. Pillai's voice can affect us at different ways at different times. I myself have had times where he's giving a teaching and I am there at the start of the teaching and I'm there at the end of the teaching when he says, slowly, slowly come back to yourself. And I have no idea what happened, in the middle of the teaching. And I have to go back and listen to the audio over and over and over again, because his voice can be very powerful and can take me into a place that's beyond where my logical mind is at the moment. So I would say it's not unusual to have strong experiences when you're listening to Dr. Pillai's voice. I would say it's important for all of us to stay physically grounded, to be doing things like he encourages people to walk regularly. He himself walks very often, like he walks in many occasions. It's important to stay grounded in your body. So make sure that you're not just spacing out and not doing anything physical with your body. Like gardening can be good because when you're gardening, you're touching the earth, you're interfacing with the soil or walking on sand or walking on grass, those types of things. But I would say what you're experiencing is not unusual. I wouldn't feel that it's wrong, but I would say that you may want to make sure that you're also doing things that are helping you to stay grounded in your body. Maybe take a few extra showers during the day. I know he has suggested that some people may want to take even up to 3 showers a day to help them with their auric purity, to help them with removing any type of auric pickup they're getting from other people that might be challenging for them. Those are some suggestions that come to mind.
Perfect, thank you. And it also sounds to me like a great blessing that to have Dr. Pillai's voice in your head and to have tingling in the middle of your forehead sounds like a high experience. And then, add to what Swamini Valli said is just to make sure you're grounded as well. So sounds good. Okay, another question is, do we start chanting Shreem Brzee right away, or do we first need to chant to Ganesha?
I would say that typically Dr. Pillai has always suggested it can be good to start with Ganesha. But if someone forgot to chant to Ganesha, it's not going to make their Shreem Brzee practice, go sour or anything like that. But if you're open to working with the Ganesha archetype and you're comfortable with that, focusing on Ganesha first helps to bring in the God thought, because you're remembering God right at the start of your practice and asking God to help remove all obstacles to your practice. So it's always wonderful to invoke Ganesha or whatever other form of the divine you resonate with, whether that's Jesus or some other type of enlightened energy that works for you.
Great, let's see what else we have. What does it mean, or what does it mean, feminine energy and masculine energy? Because you had mentioned that Venus is technically is a masculine form.
Right. So a masculine form obviously is a masculine appearance, a masculine body. Feminine energy is a more receptive energy. It has qualities that are different from the masculine energy in terms of polarities. And Venus and the moon are considered among the Vedic planets to have a feminine energy. Those are the feminine energy planets. So those are the energies that are associated with Venus and associated with the moon are more of the feminine, and both of them are ruled by a goddess. So they have more natural connection with the feminine. We all contain both masculine and feminine energies. It is said that enlightenment comes through the feminine side of the being. So we all need to learn to be feminine. We all need to learn to be receptive. We all need to develop that quality. We all need to connect with the goddess. But you also all have masculine energies in us as well. And we need to work with those energies as well. So we're a balance of both of those things. I hope that's helpful. I hope I haven't confused anyone.
That's great. I remember one time Dr. Pillai came back from India and he was like, look at my eyes. And the few of us around him looked at his eyes. He's like, what do they look like? And they're like, they look like the goddess. Like he was beaming this beautiful feminine radiance, and you could literally see the goddess in his eyes. And he's like, yeah, it's the goddess. And he was just so, because he had just come back from India and he had been in deep meditation and deep connection with the goddess. He's very connected with the goddess. So I love that you said that, you know, that enlightenment comes through the feminine side. And as we chant Shreem Brzee, we get to cultivate more of that openness. And I know, at least for myself, that's been some of my experiences, is being able to feel more joy and feel more open from that feminine side. This is a good question. In general, if you are having problems with romance, relationships, and lack of fun in your life, is that a sign that working with Venus would be advisable? Will Shreem Brzee help with that?
I would say yes, Shreem Brzee will help with that. I've had periods where I've done Shreem Brzee for extended periods, chanting on a regular basis. And I find myself just starting to spontaneously laugh while I'm chanting. Like I just feel so happy. And at first I was like, oh my God, I'm laughing while I'm chanting. It was like just a spontaneously joyful kind of a laugh. And I thought, well, now I've seen, like, you know, statues of like the laughing Buddha, like a very happy Buddha. I just had never thought of a laughing Lakshmi before. But definitely that energy of joy and happiness, working with Shreem Brzee will help you to connect with that joyful energy if you consistently work with the sounds. Yes. And it's important to have fun in life. It's important to be social, to interact with other people, and it's important to have fun, to know what you like to do that is fun, that's good for, you know, good fun for you. And sometimes in our modern world, we get so focused on work and so focused on responsibilities that we're not always taking care of ourselves. We're not always being loving towards ourselves. And so working with Shreem Brzee, focusing on Venus, focusing on Lakshmi, these are things that are going to help us to start to pay attention to taking care of ourselves. Remember, Venus is a healer, the healer that's the nurse, the one that cares about our own comfort. And so for you to start to look at, you know, are you comfortable with everything in your life? What can you do to make yourself more comfortable in your life, even with the, you know, situation that you have at the moment, how to make it more beautiful, how to have more fun in your daily life. That, you know, are you laughing every day? Do you laugh every day? That's an important trait to develop, right? That's an important trait.
Thank you. Okay, here's a good one. They're all good. I'm reading. Does Shreem Brzee act as a remedy for a debilitating Venus?
So Shreem Brzee will definitely help you to connect with more of the positive qualities of Venus to help you enhance them. Without knowing the person's chart and all of the considerations, because it's Venus could be what's technically called debilitated, but at the same time, there could be a condition in their chart that overrules that. There's some yogas that can overrule that. So I would say that sometimes a person may want to do some other remedies for Venus. AstroVed does offer pujas or fire ceremonies or that type of thing. But again, this isn't really session for talking about individual charts. So I want to say that Shreem Brzee will definitely help cultivate more positive qualities and more positive connection with Venus. And maybe then Venus will lead you to know what is the next thing you have to do to connect even better with Venus, given your particular chart situation. I hope that's helpful.
Great, thank you. Yes, and we did post a link earlier. We can post it again for some more information on the transit and the remedies that there, because when you purchase remedies individually, they're usually a lot more expensive. So when we do specials and they're grouped together, there's an opportunity for you to have a remedy at a much lower cost because it's grouped with others. So the link is in your chat if you would like that. What else do we have here? Is there an advantage to chanting Venus's mantra during his power time, or should we primarily stick with Shreem Brzee?
There would, always be benefit to chanting Venus's mantra if you're wanting to work more closely with Venus during the Venus Hora. The focus of this particular series and this particular program is on Shreem Brzee. Dr. Pillai has a special focus right now on wanting to get Shreem Brzee out to more people. He wants to put more money in the hands of spiritual people. He wants to help everyone in the area of money and finance, because unless you're already independently wealthy, it's an issue that most of us have to live with and deal with. So right now we're talking especially about Shreem Brzee, but no, it would never be wrong to do a Venus mantra during a Venus time that's a power time for Venus. That would never be wrong.
Okay, great. Here's a question from Fran. The last question regarding chanting to Ganesha first. It seems more, if I seem more attracted to Muruga, is it the same energy purpose to chant, to start with Muruga?
Experiment with that and see for yourself if that works. If that's what you're feeling drawn to, I'm sure Ganesha would be fine with that. Muruga is Ganesha's brother. And if that's what you're feeling inspired to do, then I would experiment with that and see for yourself how that works for you.
You might also want to read the story about the mango, because they also like to compete, Muruga and Ganesha. All right, any more questions? I hope I got through. Oh, someone asked about sage, if it was okay to use sage to clear off, you had mentioned kind of clearing out space, inner and outer, before chanting, and they had asked if sage would be a good thing to use.
Yes, if sage is available in your area, smoking a room with sage is definitely something that helps to clear out negative energies. Have that available if that's a practice you're familiar with. Yes, that is something that's helpful.
Okay, and then when is a good day and hora to schedule an astrology reading?
Ooh, I would say I myself do not do astrology sessions on Tuesdays or Saturdays. I avoid doing astrology on those days because Dr. Pillai had recommended to me not to do astrology. So I will talk about astrology, or I might read about astrology or study astrology, but I don't myself give readings on those days. Other astrologers do. I would say it may be a bit individual for you. It's a divine science, and the time of a session happens with divine timing. And I've had clients say they'll schedule a session and then we have to rebook for some reason, and sometimes we have to rebook again, and it happens at the right moment. So that right moment will be the right moment for you, and you'll do it with the astrologer that's right for you at that right moment as well. It is a divine science when you approach it. I would say it's important to approach it with a receptive attitude and to allow the astrologer to share what they're seeing without being quarrelsome or pushing back hard on the astrologer. Like allow the divine energy to come through the astrologer and allow yourself to be receptive to that would be my suggestion in approaching that kind of a divine science.
Great, thank you.
That's helpful.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then someone noted that he puts, I think it's he puts the Shreem Brzee headset on bottles of water, or he plays Dr. Pillai's mantra or chants into himself for Shreem Brzee, and then he has Shreem Brzee energized water, and then he uses that throughout the day or sprinkles it over himself to kind of do a cleansing, which is very creative. So thank you for posting that. Maureen is asking, is it bad to chant the mantra on a new moon day?
No, it's not bad, but new moon day is a time that is more of a spiritual time, more of a time for doing prayers for our ancestors or connecting with Shiva. There are other types that are more center stage on a new moon day. So a full moon time would be a much more powerful time for Shreem Brzee. Like if you were picking between those 2 days, I would pick the full moon time for doing Shreem Brzee practice. However, if it's a new moon day and you want to do Shreem Brzee, it will not be wrong to do it, but it will not have maybe as much added flow behind it as it would on a full moon day. That would be my suggestion.
Right. Yeah, and that's the real one of the main points of what we've been doing with our webinars here is to give you the most potent times. It doesn't mean that all the other times you should not chant. Like Swamini Valli said earlier, and we've said many times, always chant. But if you want to get the most out of your Shreem Brzee practice, then we've given you the days, the moon phases, the stars that are the most potent for that. So looks like we don't have any more questions. If anything else, please let me know, folks. Someone's asking, how does Venus and Pisces go together? I'm not sure if that's like a relevant, I don't know. Venus and Pisces.
Venus happens to be what we very, very comfortable in Pisces or exalted Pisces. Pisces is the most metaphysical, the most transcendental of all the zodiac signs. And remember I said that Venus is the planet of love. So when he's in Pisces, he's that fullest expression of spiritual love. So that's why he's considered to be exalted in Pisces. He can be at his highest potential with the qualities of love. He's helping us with love of God when he's in Pisces. So that's why he's considered to be exalted there. Hope that answers that person.
Perfect. That sounds great. People are coming back with questions. While chanting Shreem Brzee, can negative feelings be amplified before seeing any progress?
I'm sorry?
While chanting Shreem Brzee, can negative feelings be amplified before seeing progress?
Sometimes this could happen, or it could simply be we're becoming more conscious of our negative feelings. Sometimes it could be those negative feelings have always been there, and we are now becoming more aware of them. We're starting to own and see, I have anger, I have jealousy, I have whatever these things are that are being stirred up. But also Shreem Brzee is a sound that's purifying. Remember, Lakshmi is purity. So in the process of being purified, sometimes the gunk is being stirred up so that it can be washed out and flow away. So we will sometimes have these periods that may not necessarily feel comfortable because we're having to start to look at maybe having some of our illusions about ourselves destroyed. Maybe we're not as nice as we thought we always were, or et cetera, et cetera. But this is a purification process. And if you can love yourself going through this process and understand it's a normal process, it is part of becoming more pure, is to allow the impurities to be dissolved and to look at, am I willing to lay this anger down? Am I willing to lay this jealousy down? Am I willing to let these things go? To work with yourself gently, very, very gently. Always be gentle in working with yourself. Going through these types of things would be my suggestion.
Great, thank you. Here's one. I'm going to take it just because I've worked with Nambu a little bit on this. And the question is, what about Shreem Brzee supplement with the turmeric supplement? And I've worked with Nambu Botanicals a little bit and with Beth, who runs that company. And that was developed based on Dr. Pillai's, of course, direction. And those tablets have a high concentrate. Well, they have a very refined type of turmeric in it. And it's not just the table turmeric that you receive, because it has to have a certain amount of curcumin, I think is what it's called, in it to have more health benefits. So there's plenty of health benefits to turmeric, but now those are energized with the Shreem Brzee mantra. So one of our friends mentions that he's energizing his water with Shreem Brzee. And we have, hopefully you have also seen the water crystal of Shreem Brzee that was sent to the laboratory and analyzed, and it came back and absolutely beautiful. So anything that you energize with Shreem Brzee, there's a physical transformation that happens inside of that. And so the turmeric, the Shreem Brzee formula with Nambu Botanicals, has been energized with Shreem Brzee. I personally love it. I take it when I do my rituals, during Venus Hora. If I'm doing my meditation or my yantra or my chanting, I will also add that to my practice, and I even put it on my altar because I wanted to keep it very high vibrational with the Shreem Brzee. So I hope that that answers that questions for you. Any other questions? How does Kubera work with Shreem Brzee, Valli?
Kubera is another archetype in the Vedic tradition. He's considered to be the banker in heaven. So he's very involved with helping the flow of money. And it's considered that he got this job from Lakshmi. Sometimes there are pictures that Lakshmi is standing behind Kubera and his wife pouring money into them, and then they're money out to the devotees. So there's fire ceremonies in India called Lakshmi Kubera fire ceremonies, where the two archetypes are invoked for prosperity. So they have a very close connection in the Vedic tradition. Does that answer the question?
I hope so. Sounds good to me. Is initiation from Guru required for chanting Shreem Brzee? Baba did a video on that. And the short answer is no. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, Valli.
Well, I would say that Dr. Pillai is putting so much focus on these sounds, and he has now made so many videos where he himself is saying those sounds, that if you're watching those videos and you're looking into his eyes, you are receiving a darshan or a blessing or an empowerment from him with those sounds. So I would say if that is something you want, you can watch one of those videos with him. But these sounds are sounds that can work for everyone. And he is very much wanting for as many people as possible to be working with them, chanting them. You have permission to share them within your family, to share them with your friends. You have permission to be sharing these sounds in ways that are appropriate for you.
Okay, any more questions, folks? We're getting some beautiful feedback. Thank you so much. Swamini Valli, it's been very helpful. Really clearing things up between Venus and Shreem Brzee. Any other questions? And we also take your requests. We want to continue giving you free webinars as much as we possibly can. So let us know. You can write into office or programs at pillaicenter.com and give us your recommendations on what type of free webinars you would like us to continue to do. We really are so excited about what Dr. Pillai did this summer. He was really talking a lot about Shreem Brzee, did a lot of free videos, and then of course we launched the 3-part web series that he did, and that was I think in September. And then we started with the Wealth Rising program that's going to be for 6 months. But for those of you who whether you're in the Wealth Rising program or you're not, we want to continue to feed you with the Shreem Brzee knowledge, the inspiration, the any support we can possibly give you, because it is truly our goal to help you all prosper. So please let us know what you would like to see and what would be helpful for your journey. And we will continue to do this. We have, for our schedule for the next few weeks, Dr. Pillai is going, next weekend, I will be doing a webinar on the India trip, giving people more information about that. The weekend after that is Dr. Pillai's mini mystery school. The weekend after that is the second session of Dr. Pillai's mini mystery school. So we won't be picking our our Shreem Brzee seminars up for about 3 weeks from now. But you'll have plenty of things to do in the meantime because we have sessions scheduled anyway. Let's see if there's anything else. Ricky is asking, does direction matter? Oops. Direction matter on which way we are facing? I think Ricky, you're asking whether we're meditating or chanting. Is the direction matter?
I would say face in a direction in the way that's comfortable for you in the area where you are. There are things in Vastu about certain directions are good for certain things, but we're not really covering Vastu in this particular session. So I would say for now, go ahead and do what feels comfortable for you. Or you could read up a little bit in Feng Shui or Vastu, which is the Indian form of Feng Shui, if you're really wanting to get very precise about that kind of thing. But I would say the main thing is to be in a place that's clean, to have your own heart be filled with gratitude, and to have fun with your practice.
Great, thank you. Okay, it looks like that's it for now. Thank you all so much for joining, and thank you, Swamini Valli, for being here and gracing us with your presence and your wisdom. It's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to our future sessions. So thank you all for attending, and we will be posting, once this is gotten onto somewhere permanent, we will post links for everything that we mentioned today, including Nabu Botanicals, the Venus in Libra transit. And then for those of you who would like to schedule an astrology reading with Swamini Valli, she is available on AstroVed.com under live astrology consultations. You can do that at any time. Pillai Center will soon be launching our astrology coaching. But until then, Swamini Valli is on AstroVed, and you can go ahead and schedule with her now. So if there's any other things that we need to cover, we'll follow up in emails and on websites and Facebook. So thank you all for joining, and we'll talk to you soon. Namaste.
Namaste.